Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the latest episode of TV LaunchPod here at the Four Finger Discount Network, and we're both very excited today because we're here to review the pilot episode of a show that is one of the most iconic shows, not just of the 90s, just of all time, especially for sci-fi fans. It's The X-Files. I'm Dando.
And I'm Guy. Yes, very, very happy to be talking about this one. It'd been a long time since I'd seen anything X-Files related. I was not a huge X-head back in the day. I don't know.
You weren't? I thought it'd be the complete opposite. I thought you would have been right into it.
And I want to sort of go back in time 30-something years and just give young Guy a slap and say, why don't you watch this show? Because you were pretty good. 24 when this first debuted. You 69? Were you born? That's correct, yeah.
So you're 24 when it debuted. I thought you would have been, were you a big sci-fi fan? You would have been, right?
In some ways, yeah. I mean, I liked Star Wars a lot, and it wasn't necessarily a Star Trek guy.
It's impossible to like both.
That's true, yeah. It's a binary. I was really sort of quizzing myself about why I wasn't more into this. I mean, I certainly watched it. I didn't watch all of it, but rewatching the pilot episode for this episode of TV LaunchPod, I was like, this is right up. This isn't right up my alley. They actually built this alley for me.
So watching this pilot, because I only discovered the X-Files, I only started watching the X-Files, I reckon maybe 5-6 years ago. And Nick and I, we got about 3 or 4 seasons in, and then for some reason we just stopped. I think maybe Elliot came around, or maybe
that might do it.
Maybe, or maybe there was COVID happened. I don't know. We just sort of just lost touch with it, and it's just been sitting there in the Disney Plus watch list, going, we'll get back to it. And then we started watching Lost, and Nicholas just hooked on Lost. So I'm like, all right,
okay,
we'll power through Lost, and we'll get back into the X-Files. And then it's Mad Men. That's the game plan. Lost, X-Files, Mad Men.
There are worse plans to have.
There are indeed. But I watched this going. This reminded me, because I didn't watch it obviously when I was growing up. Reminded me of the feeling I had when I watched the Springfield Files episode of The Simpsons, because it felt like they were writing a show episode just for me, not specifically just for me, Brendan Dando. That's how I felt watching it, and that's exactly how you were saying. You felt like they're making this just for you.
Yeah. Now watching it again last night, and thinking about it, I was trying to think, okay, why did I not sort of embrace this wholeheartedly?
Because it was huge in Australia, right?
Well, I think it was huge all over.
Yeah,
but certainly was big in Australia. The only reason that I can give, and it speaks volumes about what a dickhead I was, but I think my whole too cool Gen X don't sell out thing, because this was hugely popular. It was on a lot of magazine covers, talked about everywhere, not parodied on The Simpsons, but featured on The Simpsons, all that kind of stuff.
Eventually was parodied on The Simpsons. Or paid a tribute almost. It was a crossover, wasn't it?
It didn't really feel like a parody, more felt like...
Yeah.
Had the X-Files as a thing, and we,
2 biggest shows on Fox.
We on The Simpsons, we like to pay tribute to things.
Nuts and gum together at last. I was similar with the OC when I was year 80ish. I would have been about 14, 15. Everyone was watching the OC, and I went, I refuse to watch it,
which can be dumb. It can be counterproductive, and so I think that's mainly the reason I can get, because looking at it.
Were your friends not watching it?
My good friend JP, I think, was really big on it. He's not a huge sci-fi guy, but he just got very into it.
Which we'll touch on as well, because I thought they had that perfect blend of stuff that sci-fi fans can love and just the casual viewer can enjoy as well.
I think you've got stuff in this that pretty much anyone can enjoy, because it touches on so many different styles, different genres, and does it all really well. I mean, not just the obvious ones like sci-fi and mystery and even horror, but I mean, there's like screwball comedy in this as well, and romantic comedy as well, even though... As I said, I'm not really up with X-Files lore. I don't really know how it ends or anything like that.
Neither,
yeah. To my understanding...
Don't if you know things, the obvious stuff, yeah.
But the way that Mulder and Scully interact is like, I could watch these guys just banter all day.
Yeah, that's the thing. I could just watch these guys talk. I had in my notes, I wish podcasts were a thing in 1993, because Mulder and Scully having their own podcast would have been a thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just them traveling to and fro events.
Yeah, but thinking about why I wasn't into it, I think it was just like, you're not going to get me with the easily baited hook or anything like that, which was just silly on me, because, well, we'll start, lead the way.
Okay, we'll start off by saying we threw this out to the patrons, the 4-Finger Discount, so patreon.com/4-Finger Discount if you want to support us, if you want to be able to vote on this, and we said it's going to be either the X-Files or Game of Thrones. That was what we threw out, the suggestions, and it was 59% for X-Files and 41% for Game of Thrones. I was a little concerned. I was telling you before we started recording that for a while there, it was Game of Thrones was winning by about 20%, and I went, guys, what are you doing?
Not just guys, but Guy, why'd you choose that?
I had to make all these fake Patreon accounts and bump up the numbers. No, but seriously, I'm glad they voted this through. But the plot, the overall plot of the episode, essentially, if you haven't watched it, what are you doing? Go watch it before you listen to this. Is Agent Dana Scully, she's been assigned to watch Mulder's work on the X-Files and report her findings to the top dogs. She's a very by the book. She's a scientist. She's from med school. But she believes in what she can see, basically, like it's science.
She's rational.
Yeah, she's very rational. But they go to investigate a series of deaths where students from a particular graduating class are being discovered with a strange marking on their back, which Mulder believes is a relation to alien abductions. That's
alien
the gist.
abductions is what drives Mulder.
Yes, exactly right. And I just think that's the perfect, when you're going to do sci-fi, the most basic storyline you can do is just alien abductions, right? When people think of aliens, it's people being abducted onto their spaceships. So sci-fi fans can appreciate it just purely for the alien factor, but just the casual viewer can go, I can buy into this. Alien abductions, could be a thing, could not be a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on top of that, you've got multiple layers of tension and possible betrayal and people working against one another or working towards certain causes.
Conspiracy is a big word in this
Conspiracy
show.
is a big word in this, yeah. And I mean, we're living in a very conspiracy-heavy age, you might say.
Haven't we always?
To some degree, but it feels like the internet and social media in particular has really intensified that and ramped it up and given...
Fake news is now much more pivotal in the world now because of social media. People watch one video on Facebook and just believe it as truth.
Yeah, and people who believe in conspiracies will find like-minded conspiracy theorists online. Their beliefs sort of feed upon one another, and they gather speed. Yeah. They start to not become more credible, but they gain more power.
I think you'd be lying to yourself if you said you go through life without thinking that one conspiracy might actually be a thing, right? We've all got that one thing where we're going, most of that shit I don't buy into. But this one the facts seem to add up.
If he was on there and this got shot over there, then how did it happen there? Yeah, that kind of thing. You can really start looking like Charlie Day and what is it? Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and you've just got your magic wall of weirdness and just
So what were your memories of the X-Files? And you said you weren't really a huge fan, but what were your memories of it? Because my memories of it, for me personally, I'll just get them out of the way quickly because there aren't many, is, again, Uncle Darren. We brought him up recently on our South Park podcast. Huge X-Files fan, so my proper introduction to the show was him watching it on Foxtel. But my mum used to watch it, and it's weird. I look back now and I go, my mum... She's not a sci-fi person. She's not. She knows of Star Wars. She'll watch it, but she's not a Star Wars fan or anything like that. But she got me into because of her. I watched Stargate. Because of her, I know of the X-Files, Sopranos. I'm like, Mum knew good television.
Indeed.
The West Wing was another one.
Tasteful lady.
Yeah, exactly
Mama
right.
Dando.
Yeah. And by the way, just want to say the news on this podcast as well. I'll do it on 4-finger discount. Been a recent cancer scare with my mum. She got went in for a heart scan about a month ago now. They found a tumor on her lung, and they did some scans on it, had cancerous cells in it, so she had to go in and get the lump removed. We got the results 2 or 3 days ago. They feel like she's in the all clear, but she has to get scans every 6 months just to make sure, but they feel like they've got it early enough, which is a relief.
Kick the big C's butt, Mama Dando.
Yes. But yeah, continue. Your memories of
my memories of it, they're mainly surrounding popular culture because it was everywhere.
All the magazine. I remember seeing just Agent Mulder and Scully on every magazine cover when I was walking through the newsagents.
And the thing of it is, David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson, both very good looking, both very hot people.
Yeah. David Duchovny looks great in red Speedos, by the way.
Who among us does not? Oh, wait a minute. Everyone except David Duchovny. They're both good looking people. They have immediate, instant, and very, very vibrant chemistry, which translates
immediately.
Not just on screen, but in every sort of photo shoot they did. And also they were game for pretty much anything as well. It seemed like barely an issue of Rolling Stone went by where there was not either an article about one of them or both of them together. And the photo shoots they would do, I mean, there was, the first one I remember is just the cover shot of them. They're like in bed. They're clearly not wearing anything, but their sheets are pulled up. But it's like
they played that up from the get-go.
They played that up from the get-go.
To attract a particular segment of the audience, didn't they?
Or, they would have them in like black leather or something like that. And there was also one where it was Gillian Anderson by herself, and they did her up like dealing with various like Universal movie monsters. Suddenly she's running from the creature from the Black Lagoon. So they're all very game to steer into the spooky Mulder aspect of it, or the spooky aspect of the show. I thought that was fantastic and really enjoyed that. But, you couldn't... The truth is out there. You started seeing that phrase everywhere.
Became uncool to 24-year-old guy, do you think?
I think, yeah. Just by virtue of its oversaturation. I was like, you're trying to market this to me, and I won't have it.
Yeah.
No, I'm too cool. And
I'm going back to my Star Wars New Hope.
That's right. I was just too stupid. I want to believe posters, the ones that you see on the wall in the Mulder's office. Yeah, they pop up all over the place. And of course, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing either the theme tune or variations of
Which
the theme
wasn't
tune.
in the pilot.
No.
It blew my mind. I was sitting there going, ooh, it sort of faded to black and went, here we go.
Yeah, you're expecting a bit like, when they rebooted Bond with Casino Royale, and all throughout you don't hear the James Bond theme. Then at the very end he says, Bond, James Bond, dun it, dun it. We're back. We're so back, baby. Yeah. It was odd not to hear it. I mean, no, I'm not gonna step on what we're going to talk about a bit later. But when you do hear it, it's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. Everything's right in the universe. But otherwise, yeah, that's the only quibble that I would have with this pilot episode. This is a really well put together piece of television.
And you can't even really. What it shows is that had this had the theme song, it would have just been like a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. As a pilot, because I've got here, I love that they wasted absolutely no time in setting the story. It's just straight from the get-go. There's no sort of threads being sort of layered throughout the episode. There are threads being layered, but the basic storyline, from the get-go, you feel like you know both of them within 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Within 3 minutes, I know who she is, what her point is, and what he is, and why he's doing what he's doing. Straight away.
Oh, yeah.
You watch it apart and you feel like you've known them forever.
And if it's exposition, it's done in a very classy, very elegant way.
Yeah. They explain. We mentioned recently we did E Pluribus Vigum, right? The Simpsons review.
We did,
and they didn't explain what all the basically what goes into a campaign and how.
What was it, the Bond issue?
The Bond issue. Basically, they didn't explain the process. Basically, to anyone who's outside of the States, they didn't explain what the process. They just assumed that we would know. Here, they straight away they explain what the X-Files actually is for anyone who wouldn't be aware. Because Chris Carter?
Chris Carter.
He didn't just go, people know what the X-Files are. He dumbed it down for us in a way that was believable because it was basically saying, you know what the X-Files are, right? Yes, they are this. And it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
You explained it within fucking 1 minute.
You've got smart people who aren't necessarily telegraphing or, showing off that they're smart.
No.
They're just doing it by virtue of their knowledge and the way they explain it to each other. And the writing is sharp enough that it's not, as you know, Bob, it's more like you can keep up, you can keep up, you can keep up.
You know they're doing it. But you don't mind because it feels like you almost appreciate it. You go, thank you.
Yeah.
Because Chris Carter took the right approach. We're all idiots. Everyone watching the show is an idiot. I'm going to make sure all the idiots understand what we're doing here.
Yeah, but I'm not going to explain anything in a way that makes you know that there are gaps in your knowledge. It's more like, hey, do you know about this?
If you didn't know, that's okay. I'll explain it to you.
Yeah.
It's okay not to know. Yeah. But yeah, I got here within 5 minutes. I know exactly who both these characters are, and the chemistry is just instantaneous.
Well, also, I mean, before you even get to Scully and then to Mulder in the space of a few minutes, I mean, you've just got this fantastic setup. First of all, first thing you see on the screen, it's not inspired by actual events, but this was inspired by documented or accounts of actual events. Or
Conspiracy theorists, we love that shit.
Wait a minute.
I say, well, I'm not conspiracy, but they love saying, based on true events, this could have happened.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That automatically sort of gets the hook into me. That whole opening bit, just with the sound and the look of the guy.
So simplistic with the light and everything.
Yeah. Also, it had a really big, this obviously paid tribute to, or let's just say plain ripped off, a few things that were very popular at the start of the 90s. It's got a real Twin Peaks feel.
Yeah.
Well, and the company was actually in Twin Peaks, so you've got your connection there. But it's also really, really Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Gillian Anderson.
She even acts like her.
Oh, yeah, she's definitely styled to look like Jodie Foster's Clarice Starling. Speaks a bit like her in some way. And that whole first interaction between, the FBI guys, including Cigarette Smoking Man, it's almost designed to intimidate Scully, but she's clearly, very, very intelligent, very self-possessed, and able to,
she's strong-willed.
Yeah, handle anything that's put in front of her.
Yeah.
That's not almost beat for beat, but it's very reminiscent of the first scene with Jodie Foster and Scott Glenn in Silence of the Lambs.
How important was that in 1993 to have such a strong woman as your lead?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, there have been strong female leads in television, for years prior to this, of course. But having here's the thing about the casting of Anderson as well, which is, she was about 24 at this time.
Was she?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 24 or 25. They didn't want someone like Gillian Anderson. They wanted someone who was a little more glamorous. I mean, I don't think they were going to dumb the character down too much, but they wanted someone who
Not Pamela Anderson level, but...
No, but somewhere between Gillian Anderson and Pamela Anderson, you'd find another Anderson.
But she see, with Gillian, she has this plain look to her, but in like a really attractive, relatable, just draws you in.
Yeah. The term that I was going to use is she's very school captain-y.
Yes, she is, but that's hot.
But someone who's just, in year 12 and
you got your shit together.
Oh, you're probably going to go to college in the States. You probably applied to Harvard, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you'll probably get in.
Yeah.
I went to school with someone like that. She runs Reese Witherspoon's production company.
Really?
Yeah.
Went to school with it?
Yeah.
Well, hey. Yeah. Do you have a message and say, remember me?
I have some shame. But yeah, that's she's incredibly capable and incredibly smart. And yeah, let's not beat around it. She's easy on the eyes as well. Yeah. But in a way that's kind of like, not overly glamorous.
There was one point where, I get it, she was sort of in a rush, but they got her down to her knickers, right? Her bra and panties, right? When she was looking in the mirror. Did she have to strip down to her bra and knickers to go show Mulder? She couldn't put a shirt on? She had to just... I know she was in a... I was like, I bought this. I was like, I know she's in a rush. She's not really thinking straight. She's just panicking going to Mulder. But I'm like, did she just have to take the whole kit and caboodle off?
Look, I think Chris Carter's no dummy.
I know exactly why it happened.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, would she really do this?
It's not just for us, though. They've already established that there's going to be some degree of romantic and sexual tension between these two. And these two really steer into it as well. I mean, they're coming from opposite ends of the, rationality or belief matrix or whatever.
Well, if it's got here, you know exactly where both of these characters stand from the get-go when it comes to paranormal activity. I love the quotes. I've got this is the quotes in comparison. Hers is, the answers are there, you just need to know where to find them. Versus his is, well, do you have a better explanation?
Yeah.
Mulder as a character for me was perfectly handled in the sense that clearly a conspiracy theorist, what many would refer to as like a whack job. He believes this, he believes that. But he doesn't rub it in your face. No. What he does is he took Scully to places and had her experience it and say, you're experiencing what I'm experiencing. Do you have a better explanation?
Yeah.
Use your science to explain this. And she couldn't. And that's how he not converted her, but made her start to question, okay, maybe there's more to this than what I initially was willing to accept.
Yeah, yeah. And it's obvious from the jump that they're both intelligent people. Mm-hmm. She can't discount him as like, well, he believes this kind of thing because he's not clever enough to, sort out the real reason.
I think she always respected him, but she definitely thought more of him as the episode progressed. Yeah. I think at the start she was sort of, this guy.
Yeah. But something I really dug about it, and I think something that I hope will continue moving forward is, like I said, you've got multiple levels of possible betrayal here. I mean, Scully is, of course, reporting back to her higher-ups about everything that's going on with the X-Files.
He knows he's getting
but he's
watched.
Aware of that as well. But at the same time, they're building this sort of personal relationship. There's clearly, an affection between the two of them from the get-go. I mean, you see that when he knocks on the door at some stage, and she's like, "Who is it?" This weird shit's been happening. Like, who is it? And she's like, "That's me." She just beams. There's this.
He doesn't say. He said Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg. Yeah. Now I don't know if it's not that good a joke.
I laughed.
Yeah, I don't know if she's laughing at the joke.
I think I laughed at her appreciating it more than anything.
But it's not just a smile of that was funny. It's like, it's this guy who not only is someone I can trust in this weird situation, but someone I'm coming to like. Mm-hmm. That's the way I read it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's something that I really, really enjoyed. But there's always the chance that, Scully may come to the conclusion, oh, this is a guy I like, I trust, I respect, but he might be nuts. Mulder is going, here's a woman who could possibly be on the same page as me, could help me with my investigations, could help me, figure out this thing that's been at the core of my being since I was, 12 years old. But she might rat me out at any moment. I know she's reporting to the higher-ups, and, who knows what she's saying about me, but I trust her enough and I respect her enough to say, you're not going to tell on me, are you?
Well, he told her the sister story.
That's right, yeah. Which, they don't have sex in this pilot episode, or, I don't know, at any stage throughout the show. I mean, I'm not that up to speed with it. But the way that whole scene was shot, this is a really well-directed episode, by the way. I mean,
it felt like you're watching a movie.
Really did.
When we talked about Lost, how it felt like a movie. That was more like an action sequence movie. This just feels like a really well put together alien story, isn't it?
Just just incredibly well shot and well staged episode. But that whole bit where he's talking about the abduction of his sister or the disappearance of his sister, it's like they've had sex and now they're lying in bed. It's like a post-coital cigarette or a post-coital. Well, tell me about yourself. Yeah, but that's something I really like. And then on top of that, you've got the higher-ups at the FBI and other sort of shadowy agencies who are monitoring these people, who are giving them just enough rope to maybe hang themselves or just enough to find out the truth about stuff.
Well, what it is they're giving them enough rope to find the truth, right? But they're going to not let the truth get out. Well, so basically it's like, we know he's a criminal, not interrogator, what's the term? Profiler. Yeah. And she's a great scientist. She came from med school, whatnot. So they work well as a team. They know these guys are going to go out there, find the facts, bring the facts back. Because it's almost like, I don't think she's realised it yet in this pilot, but you get the sense watching this pilot that she feels like she's on their team when really they're using her to use Mulder. It's like they're using her to use Mulder to get the facts so that they can then hide them from the public.
Absolutely, yeah. So everyone's using everyone to some degree, and everyone's trusting each other, but not.
I don't think Mulder and Scully are using each other. Would you say they're using each other, Mulder and Scully?
Not in a really,
because they're not really gaining anything from having. I don't know. They're not really gaining anything from being from each other. Do you think it's more that they work well as a team? It's like I can understand what you're saying before, where there's always going to be the element of she could or he could fuck me over at any point, or he's just a crazy whack job that could ruin my career.
Yeah, maybe using each other is not the right term.
Do you think that's why at the end she was hesitant to say that anything was conclusive? It was all inconclusive because she doesn't want to be put in the same, because she's young. She's trying to work her way up.
She's ambitious, clearly.
Is Chris Carter trying to say to us by her saying it's inconclusive at the end, even though I've got this proof here, right? That's her way of saying, I probably believe, but I'm not going to tell these guys because they'll probably put me in the same category as Mulder.
Well, inconclusive's a very, it's a word that, it could go either way, couldn't it? It's not saying I disbelieve or I believe. It's like, I can't tell.
I think as a show as well, it's important, I think, for this pilot to not come out and say, I mean, I feel like in this episode here, they kind of do prove that aliens exist, right? Oh, yeah. But it's not proven in the world, like in the universe of the X-Files. No, the world doesn't know about it.
You haven't come. Well, first of all, they haven't come face to face with ET. They've seen a lot of stuff they can't explain. The way Mulder is wired, he's going to lean more towards. Well, it's aliens.
Well, he saw. See, it was important that Scully didn't see the end. He saw the end. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Whereas Scully is adjacent to it. I can't quite explain this, but I'm rational enough, and I've been rational for long enough to go, well, it could be this, or this.
Yep.
But maybe not that. Possibly that, but more likely this or this.
Yep.
Yeah, which is something really dark. And of course, at the end, you've got, as you pointed out, you got cigarette smoking man doing a razor.
Who is this guy? But it's like, he comes across, watching this pilot, I know who he is, but watching this pilot, he comes across as the guy who, it doesn't seem like he's running things, but this guy's running things.
Well, yeah, there's always the guy behind the guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I've forgotten the name of the character. I think it's Blevins, who's the one who's sort of calling the shots for the FBI. Yeah. By the way, look, I'm going to be really nerdy here, but this is a shout out that I kind of appreciated, whether it was intended or not. I like to think that Chris Carter probably had this in mind. The actor playing Blevins is a guy named Charles Coffey. He's a sort of a veteran character actor, but he's known to me at least for his role in a movie called Clute from the 1970s, starring Jane Fonda and the late great Donald Sutherland, that had a real sort of paranoid kind of feel. And he was a guy in that who was suit and tie, appeared very, straight up, turned out to have some shady shit going on. And yeah, it just added to the overall mosaic of like, you can't really trust anyone here. So yeah, props to Carter for that.
Yeah, we mentioned the sister story before. I just thought what that did so well, obviously what we already touched on, how it sort of helped them sort of open up to each other, but it gives layers to the Mulder character as to why he's gone down this path. He's not just a guy who's read a couple of things on the internet and gone, I believe this shit.
Yeah.
He's experienced something, and he knows what he's experienced, and his entire life he's been told he's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why he's now so obsessive to go, stop trying to tell me I was wrong. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. You weren't there. You can't tell me what it was.
Yeah, he's not one of these people who's taken one of the snapshots that you see on the diner wall or anything like that. No, he's got actual, not physical proof, but shall we say emotional or intellectual proof?
Yeah. And
at least an emotional and intellectual connection with this kind of case.
I'm pretty sure he tells that story just after Scully has the scare with the mosquito bites, right?
That's right, yeah.
So I like that she has that scare, which was a great scene because what it does is it shows that she's now got as a viewer, there's a part of Scully in there somewhere that is willing to believe.
Oh, yeah.
Because for a brief moment there, she was like, "Oh shit." And then she realized, okay, it's just a mosquito bite. Yeah, of course it's a mosquito bite. What was I thinking? It's crazy.
Yeah.
But then when he told that story, I don't feel like the Mulder character would have told that story had she not had that moment, because now she's willing to go, okay.
Well, it's shared vulnerability
Yeah.
on the part of both of them.
Yes.
Yeah, because up until then, of course, she's shown humanity, but that felt like a real breakthrough when she realizes, oh shit, everything that's been happening to these people may be happening to me. I've seen stuff that I can't immediately explain. Yeah.
And she hugs him at the end when she's relieved.
Yeah,
and
when she's relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an invitation for Mulder to share his vulnerabilities.
I like at first when she took off her gear, he didn't look down. It was just like checking her out, and then he looks down at mosquito bites. It's like there's tension.
Oh
here.
yeah,
There's sexual tension. Not tension. There's a connection.
Well, it's obvious from the jump. I mentioned earlier about screwball comedy. I mean, when they first start talking to one another, when she goes to his office, they are on each other's wavelength from the jump.
It reminded me of that conversation you have when you're a teenager and you find there's a girl that's on the same wavelength as you, and you're like, holy shit, I want to marry you.
Oh yeah.
You're like, you don't necessarily like all the same things as me, but we click, and like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain that first time you click with somebody. It doesn't have to always be with the opposite sex, but that first time that you meet someone, and you go, "Oh shit, we're not the same person, but we, like you said, we just click.
Oh yeah,
we work."
I recall a conversation I had with some dude I met in a nightclub back in like the early '90s, and this is of course prior to the internet and that. We started talking about movies, and then it's like, "Oh, you've seen that as well? Did you like that? Because it reminded me of that." "Oh yeah, absolutely. What have you seen this?" And we were just sort of rattling off titles, and I'm like, "Oh, I thought I was the only one who'd ever seen that and liked it." And I was like, did we just become best friends? Yeah, I mean, they're quite stepbrothers, but that's how it felt.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that conversation like it was yesterday, and it was 30-something years ago.
I spent 30 years looking for the guy.
Yeah, where are you, bud?
Also, with the sister story, it just makes him sympathetic, and not just to Scully, but to viewers, because there's viewers here who might not be into sci-fi and all other shit, but now viewers who are just the casual viewers can root for him because, like, I hope he finds his sister.
Yeah,
or I hope he gets answers.
Also, they might not even be into Mulder, because Mulder's got terrific charm, but it's charm in a very sort of late 80s, early 90s kind of fashion. I mean,
how would you describe that?
Oh, it's very glib. I mean, he's clearly a smart guy, and he's clearly, got stuff going on upstairs, but he also is...
He's not trusting at all of anybody.
No,
for obvious reasons.
But he's quick with a one-liner.
I love when he walked out from Billy. What did he say? He made some joke about Billy as they were walking out of the hospital, the mental or something. I can't remember what it was, but it's just like he's making jokes.
Yeah, and some of which could be perceived as kind of insensitive.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was an insensitive joke what he made.
Yeah, he hasn't really got great people skills.
No,
in a lot
true.
of ways, or it could easily be sort of taken the wrong way, because he seems to be very quick with a one-liner and all that kind of stuff, and to show that may well be kind of a front for this pain that he's feeling about the disappearance of his sister. I thought it was a really good move.
Yes. Well, what were your biggest takeaway from this? What was the one thing that hooked you the most? Like, what's the one thing that you went, I need to know more about this? Like, what were your hooks?
I'm honestly thinking that it was Mulder and Scully.
Okay.
I mean, I was taken in by the whole mythology of alien abductions, the fact that
it's almost like that's the cherry on top, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is. I mean, you've got a great workplace comedy here.
Yeah.
Or workplace romance here with these two characters who, are clearly drawn together, but have enough differences that they're, not going to jump into each other's arms or jump into bed or anything like that. But they clearly respect each other, and they're clearly going to have each other's backs. You can tell that from the get-go. And I'm like, I knew enough about the X-Files, and I know enough about the X-Files that it's going to be a Monster of the Week show. That's the actual term that either Carter used or that people started using. They started saying, it's Monster of the Week.
Well, we get the alien corpse. That caught me off guard. I was like, oh shit, that's a fucking weird looking thing.
Yeah. And for them to be, I think for Scully to be saying, like, it's an orangutan or something. It's a sick joke that someone played. So,
and as it progresses, like, oh no, wait a minute. Yeah. But I also want to touch on...
Well, what was your hook?
Well, my hook for me, I've just got, will Mulder find his sister? That for me was a big one. Who is the smoking man? And what is his position in all this grand story? And will Mulder and Scully prove that aliens just exist? Because I don't think they would ever... Well, I've only watched past season 3 or 4, but I feel like this show would work better if they proved aliens exist, but the government found a way to not let that news get out. Mm-hmm. Although, would that get frustrating after a while as a viewer going...
I think so, yeah. It's like, this again, they found another way to stymie them. Yeah. I'd like that to be... Clearly, they couldn't tell that the show was going to run for 11 years and 2 movies or anything like that, but have that be the real big overarching issue of like, can we prove it, and then can we disclose it?
Yeah,
but in the meantime, just from week to week, it's like, oh, I think he says it in the second episode because I mean, why watch this episode and then just let it run on Disney Plus?
You see behind me here, if you're watching the video, I've got the Blu-ray box set right there.
Dano's got physical media forever, and
I've got the soundtrack, which the LP glows in the dark.
Oh my god! Yeah. Well, of course it would.
Yeah, listening to the diddle 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 in the pitch black with that glowing in the dark, fucking cool, man.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it's also showing on Disney Plus. I think they've got everything, and maybe the 2 movies as well. Yeah, watching the second episode, that ends up with Mulder sort of having a confrontation with another sort of, what do you call it? Another suit. And he says something like, they're already here, aren't they?
Deep Throat, right?
Yeah, Deep Throat. Yeah. He goes, they've always been here. Well, that's interesting.
Yes.
That's even, ooh, okay, yeah, tell me more. But I think in that episode as well, something happens in Idaho, and Mulder says something like, all right, pack your bags, we're off to the potato state. It's like, okay, well, that's cool. You're going somewhere every week. You know.
It's what the Mandalorian should have been.
Yeah, you found something buried in the X-Files, or you found an FBI case that they're sidelining or whatever. It's like, this has got X-Files written all over it. Okay, it
just feels like any other crime show, but it's sci-fi based.
It does, yeah. Well, it's essentially Law and Order.
It's all it is. It's Law and Order, Paranormal Activity.
There you go. I mean, I don't know how long Law and Order had been going at this stage, if it even had started at this stage.
93. I think it started in 2000. I started in 90, I think. Law and Order.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Carter said, yeah, it's Law and Order Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. It just works. Yeah. The final shot for me, I loved as well. Because what it does is it reveals who the Smoking Man is. It's sort of revealing completely, but you get the idea, okay, he's the guy that's sort of running the show. But that shot of, they've already had 6 of these, whatever, in the past. He puts it back in the container. And then as it pans out, it's like, oh shit, that's how many secrets they've been keeping from people?
That great Raiders of the Lost Ark style ending.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's at the Pentagon.
Of course.
Yes. So, yeah, just overall, if you can get perfect pilots, this is pretty much up there, I think.
I reckon it would.
What was the other one that had the perfect pilot we were talking about? So, what have we done so far?
Well, we've done Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers was great.
Yeah, Fresh Prince.
Lost, Golden Girls, Disenchantment was not great.
It was not great. Yeah, they can't all be winners, as they say.
No, but this one here, if you're an X-Files fan, obviously you're going to love it, but you don't have to be. Nicola is the furthest thing from what you would describe as someone who would like Paranormal Activity. She hates spookiness. She's not into aliens. She's not into Star Wars, that kind of thing. I remember I put this on and she was immediately hooked. And that's how I knew this was going to be a show that's how you know it's a successful show. You
got smart people solving mysteries, and the paranormal or science fiction stuff is really just a tasty sprinkling across
with enough drama in there as well, like the connection between Mulder and Scully. Will they, won't they?
Yeah.
People love that shit.
It's got a lot of everything that you might want. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. Well, we mentioned the opener a little earlier. I just want to sort of talk about how. Yeah. As I said, inspired by actual accounts. Woof.
Yeah.
Terrific spooking opening.
The use of light. It's almost like
the use of light and sound.
No real special effects. It's just bright lights and music.
Bright lights and really just sort of discordant ambient noise.
It felt almost like Jaws. It's like you barely see the shark, but it's the music and just the setting. Yeah.
And when you have a cop or a coroner or something like that saying, it's happening again, isn't it? It's like, oh, okay. There we go.
But again, we haven't touched on the twist. So I just think that this show works so well because it's an easy to follow premise with the alien abduction. Everyone can follow that shit. It's simple. It's fun, right? A really fun twist with Billy being the killer in this. Everyone loves a good twist. I didn't see that coming. Did you see it coming?
I did not see that coming.
Okay, didn't see it coming at all. So TV audiences love that as well. However, it's just the chemistry between Anderson and Duchovny. It's undeniable. So it's just great chemistry with the main cast, a fun twist, and an easy to follow story that explains everything from the get-go so you don't feel stupid, and it's just a fun ride.
Yeah. One thing I really enjoyed, I mean, Dan and I don't know, we're kind of dumbasses.
Kind of.
Not really. I loved how they didn't have to go into too much depth to find out, that, how did you find out that Billy was the guy? I was like, well, we pulled back the sheet and he had dirt on his feet.
Yeah.
How did he get dirt on his feet? Is your hospital filthy? No, he must have got out. That's the kind of thing. It's like, oh, of course. Yeah.
You know what I liked too? Was that it was Scully that was doing that investigation. So basically that wasn't Mulder trying to prove it to Scully. Scully's like, maybe he is right. I'll just gather up some of this dirt here just in case. And she's the one that makes the discovery. It's almost like it proves to not only the viewer, but to Mulder that she's actually on his side.
Yeah.
She wants to solve this.
Yeah, and I love how, well, certainly speaking for myself, I felt invested enough in their relationship and their investigation of the case that when things start going awry for them, when
She gets burnt down and whatnot.
when they go back to the motel and it's burning down, it's like
Graves are empty.
yeah.
So
Oh,
was
man,
that Billy
yeah.
that did that? Or was Billy just killing people?
I think Billy was just killing people.
So who was doing so was that the government? Was that supposed to be the government that was doing that?
The government or the guys in the town?
Yeah, was it his dad?
I think so, yeah. Because was it the coroner? He seemed like he was in on it as well.
Well, the coroner didn't want to be. I don't know whether he was he
Or the
in on
medical
it?
examiner?
Was he in on it? Well, because he knew about his daughter had the marks, didn't he?
Yeah, there was something shady about the way those guys were operating. Certainly the sheriff or the deputy sheriff.
Yeah, so the corpses went missing and the shit got burnt down. Yeah, but I think it was just very important to have that little, what would you call it? Just a little device. Yeah, at the end just to prove, no, this is real. This really did happen. So they had some form of evidence, and then for the government to prove that, to reveal that the government, they already knew about it.
Yeah.
They've had 5 of these in the past.
Yeah, and it gets Scully even more on his side as well because he realized, yeah, she's savvy enough to
Keep something. Yeah.
keep something.
Yeah. She wants the same thing Mulder wants. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you can tell, I've just had here, this for me feels like, it's obviously the X-Files, it's the pilot episode, Mulder's a big part of it, but this is the Dana Scully episode. It's almost like you go on this journey with Dana. At the start, she's this young med student who just wants to impress people. She's made the jump. Her parents think it's a rebellious act. Well, no, she wants to work in the FBI. She wants to do right by them. She's on their side at the start. And she's still on their side to an extent, but she's questioning their...
Well, she's on their side. She's also on her side,
Yeah.
but she's increasingly on Mulder's side. And
Yeah.
of course, she knows about she knows about the X-Files, does she? Or
Oh, she's the one that explains it to the viewer. Because they go, do you know what the X-Files is? And she goes, yes, it's this. Yeah. Not to the extent she does by the end.
She's got that cursory knowledge of it. But yeah, she's our introduction into how deep the rabbit hole actually really goes.
Because she also, because in that scene, we'll touch on how they explain the show and explain Mulder. Because they say, have you heard of Mulder? Yes, he's spooky Mulder. And she explains why. And it's like, see, that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Fucking 10 seconds. I know who he is. I know what he's doing. Exactly.
Yeah, a great bit of explanation that's not just, he did this, this, and this. I mean, oh no, I read this of his, and yeah, we called him Spooky Mulder.
And she laughs as she says it, as if to say, yeah, he's a bit of a joke back at the offices.
Yeah. All that's fantastic. All that's it's delivering information, but it's also letting you know about these characters.
And it's positioning him in a sympathetic way as well, because you can tell it's him versus the world. And it's like, he just seems like a nice guy. And as he reveals the sister story, he's doing it for a reason that you can buy into and root for.
In some ways, yeah. In other ways, I don't know, not a nice guy. It seems like he's willing to throw people, not under the bus, but...
Who's he throwing to the bus here?
Oh, under the bus is the wrong term, but he seems very single-minded about certain things.
I just think he's very socially awkward.
Yeah, and
he's driven.
The glee that he shows when he makes that X.
Of the X, yeah.
And then... It happened here. It happened to us.
That was actually, we haven't touched on it. That was a really cool moment, wasn't it?
It was
Losing
a very,
time.
very cool moment. But for someone who's pretty rational, like Scully, that could be pretty traumatizing. But he's just, it happened. It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just is ecstatic that she experienced it with him as well. It's like, someone was here. They can prove it with me. But again, that was touching on the special effects. Nothing really necessarily happens to them from a graphic perspective or anything. It's just bright lights and they lose 9 minutes of time.
Yeah,
but that's all you needed to do.
And some weird ass slow mo and cutting it black and white or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all you needed.
I really like the scene too where they're doing the investigating at night and the cop arrives, but you don't know it's the cop at first. I was spooked when it was just the sound was getting louder. The lights getting bright. You see this figure walking towards. I was like, scary shit.
Yeah, that's real Twin Peaks stuff.
Yeah,
that feels like you're out near the Black Lodge or whatever.
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah, we can go on forever, I feel. I like this. That was awesome.
It's very Chris Farley. You remember when that happened? That was cool.
So obviously we would both like to know more, right?
We would indeed like to know more.
I challenge anyone to watch the pilot of the X-Files and not want to watch the next episode straight away.
It happened to me.
All right. So that is our review of the pilot of the X-Files. A fantastic pilot. We need to make some sort of scale, I feel, at some point. I feel like we might have done it in Bob's Burgers, but if this was going to be out of 5, I would honestly give this a 4.5, I think. This is just missing the music. It's near perfect. It's really near perfect.
Yeah, without the spooky Mark Snow. And also the opening credits sequence, which it feels like it's sort of... this was a couple of years before 7 came out, but it felt like 7 really reinvigorated the whole opening credits of a movie game.
Okay.
With that whole sort of impressionistic weird jump
shit,
cuts.
yeah.
Yeah. And this doesn't have that to that degree, but it's, they're flashing up text on the screen. Like, what's that image about? Here's that spooky face going, ah.
Yeah, I was going to say, the face is the one that I always remember.
Yeah.
I know exactly what part of the music it comes in as well, yeah.
I always remember the handprint with like the red joint. I'm like, what's that about?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What's going on here? Yeah. You're right. This is a 4.5 out of 5.
I'm not being silly. It's a 4.5 in my opinion.
Yeah, no. This is about as good as it gets.
What else could as an X-Files pilot, music aside, what else could they possibly have done to attract you more as a viewer? I don't think there's anything more they really could have done.
Not really, no.
And even in 2024, you watch this and it doesn't feel dated.
Not at all.
No.
I mean,
this was 30 fucking years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it feels quite 90s.
Yes.
And early 90s, but not in a terrible haircut and baggy pants kind of way, or hammer pants or anything like that. It's like, okay, yeah, this is how people. This is like the best look you could get in 1993.
Maybe you could say it's a very white cast. It wouldn't be this way in 2024. That's one thing.
Well, yeah,
but I just think the way they didn't rely on too much on technology and whatnot, and special effects, makes it not date because
that's right.
It's just simplistic.
Yeah. It's just good old-fashioned detective work.
Yeah, it's just good old-fashioned TV work, directing.
It is.
All right, so that, yes, our review of The X-Files. Next week, Mr. Davis, let's throw out 2 new shows. So we've done a sci-fi, drama-esque. We'll do something more lighthearted, do you think, next week?
Yeah, maybe we should.
Let's think of something lighthearted. I'm going to say, do you want to go a sitcom? We did Golden Girls, Disenchantment. What do you want? Do you want to do like a drama? What do you want to do? Best TV shows, I'm going to go with the 90s. All right, best TV shows of the 90s. I'm going to throw... Twin Peaks is 2 Twin Peaks. There's 2 X-Files.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this show out there. It's a sitcom, but I haven't revisited it in a long time. News Radio.
Oh.
So that's your pilot. That's my pilot. What's your pilot? Pick a 90s sitcom for you. I'm going News Radio. I'll just pick a sitcom, any era. Doesn't matter.
I may be shooting myself.
Comedy.
I may be shooting myself in the foot here because this is one that I never really watched all that much, and I feel opinion on it has probably shifted, and maybe time to shift back. I don't know, but how about How I Met Your Mother?
How I Met Your Mother and News Radio. Yeah, I've never watched How I Met Your Mother for a full episode, not once. So
I think I've only seen like bits and pieces here and there.
So we're going to throw it up in the Patreon group. How I Met Your Mother or News Radio. You shall find out next week what is the winner.
Indeed.
All right, guys. Thank you again for all of your support here at TV LaunchPod /4finger discount. Don't forget to continue to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find this show. The more reviews we get, the more people discover this show. And also, if you can support us on Patreon, that would be a big help as well. Anyway, this has been The X-Files. Mr. Davis, any final words for those incredible listeners out there?
The truth was in here.